What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another NBA Rundown brought to you courtesy of Run Pure Bets and Run Pure Sports. Today I got Travis Mangone with me. Can everybody please like the video, subscribe to the channel for more actionable gambling content? Travis, how you doing today?
What's going on, Spread? Excited to be here, talk some bets, talk some DFS. We got news already dropping too, right? So
What we got?
Nothing big, right? Melton's out, Clark is out, Justice Winslow, so that adds up, right? As we get there, Danilo Gallinari was questionable 2 minutes ago, so we got tons of stuff going on right now.
All right, well let's try and analyze some of this news while we break down the games. Let's talk about a game that, boy, the news is coming fast and furious here, and definitely give me some updates as they come in. The first one's the Timberwolves, who are 13-38, 22-28 against the spread, heading down to Indiana to take on the Pacers. This team cannot just get healthy. They're 22-27, 19-30 against the spread. They're making like a final playoff push, and I'll tell you what, it is falling flat. Visit over to Basketball Monster. So Sabonis is doubtful, Brogdon's questionable, and now Turner's out. On the other side, Russell made his debut the other night against the Kings and played quite well. But playing against the Kings kind of like putting the game on easy. See how he does against a tougher backcourt. But what do you think about this game, and should we even bother capping it until we get news?
Yeah, I mean, news is always super important, especially when it's a team that's banged up like this. We also have, on the flip side, right, the Timberwolves are like getting healthier, which they really haven't been healthy all season long. So what is the current line out that we have on them?
Right now, the line is Pacers -2.
Okay, yeah, I'll admit I don't have a good read on who's going to play for the Pacers or who is not. And like, you can make a strong case that Sabonis is super important, right? And this is one of those games maybe you just stay away from a betting perspective right now. The thing is, luckily we'll have this news in time for DFS, right? Because it's a 7 o'clock lock. And the 7 o'clock lock is going to be key because this is going to be a game that you're probably going to want to get some exposure to, right? Like, we like to attack the Minnesota Timberwolves defensively. They're not a team that we're scared of. And this is definitely one that you're going to want exposure to these guys. Like, for instance, Miles Turner, he ended up leaving the game yesterday. And if he does not play, that's going to open up a guy like Goga as like an absolute stone lock at 3K spread. I don't know how much you know about Goga, but he's a great fantasy point per minute producer. He would be an absolute stone lock if we have Turner out. Like, if we get that news, load him in your line, even if Sabonis is in there. I don't know if you
so I think Turner's out for sure from what I'm reading. I see him out for 4 games. It's just Sabonis that we're waiting the news on for the big guy.
Yes, I think you're right. And then Sabonis is obviously big. So, like I said, Goga in the front court, going to be really interesting. You can make cases. You could see them go more Sabonis at the 5, and then they shift over McDermott at the 4, and then you see everyone slide down. They have Justin Holiday over there at the 3, just exercising. Shooting a shot every maybe 20 minutes and then running back down the court. Maybe he grabs 1 steal. That's just how he is. And then obviously the LeVert and Brogdon stuff. Like, if there's no Brogdon, LeVert is in just such a nice role where you can't ignore it. Now, you can make an argument that if you have Sabonis in there, could it cut into LeVert's production? Yes, of course, because Sabonis is a guy that is has a pretty high usage. And LeVert's price tag has gone up, right? And it's gone up because Sabonis hasn't been in there. So you might have some hard decisions to make with a guy like LeVert in this spot. He's 7,100 on DraftKings, which, again, 7,100, it's definitely cheap. And it depends who is in and who is out. FanDuel is where it's probably going to be a different conversation. Yesterday, he was 8K. I'm pulling it up now. I'm sure it's still too expensive. 8.5K. Now, it is the Timberwolves, right? You're going to get some really good spots. You have to play 2 shooting guards over on FanDuel, though, which is worth mentioning. I think that's going to depend on the all-around injury news of the entire slate. We also have Bradley Beal, who's questionable and cheaper than Caris LeVert at 8.3K, which is cheap if he decides to play. So over on FanDuel, decisions will be tougher to make on LeVert, but I think on DraftKings, he's going to be a strong play. We need all this injury news. And then spread, it's going to be a stars and scrubs kind of day, I think, right? Because of all the news that we can have. And that's how it's going to kind of be, I think, towards the rest of the NBA season. And if it is, we need to talk about Karl-Anthony Towns. Can you pay a 10.7K price tag? Now, the production has been amazing. 52.75, 70.5, 59, 53.25, 62. You can make some arguments that those lower 50 numbers, they're not the best for that price tag, but you just have the salary to spend, so it doesn't really matter. And at some point, raw points do matter. But if we do have Goga as one of your centers, then you have to put, you can only have one more spot for a guy like Towns. You can't just put him in at the guard spot, right? You can play 3 guards or 4 guards on every slate. You can only play 2 centers. So that's going to be definitely an interesting dynamic. Let's say you have Goga at your center, and then your utility, you have another cheap center. Well, then Towns is going to go pretty under-owned and could be a really interesting option. So I think he has still upside at that price, but you can make an argument that still like 50 number isn't going to cut it at 10.7K.
All right. I'd love to get also your outlook for the rest of the season for the return of D'Angelo Russell. One thing I did notice about myself and like my own handicapping is because I think number one, D'Angelo Russell is probably one of the most overpaid players in the NBA. And number two, he's just, for the numbers that he gets, he's really not that good. But I forget, he's still a good basketball player, right? And he showed that by dropping 25 against the Kings, right? And just because you're overpaid doesn't mean you can't make a positive contribution to your team. How do you think that the return of D'Angelo Russell affects the Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards usage, and there's no Beasley right now, so actually a good time for him to come back.
Yeah, I'll pull it up now, actually. I want to pull up the rotations that they've been running. And one last thing I want to mention, too, about the Timberwolves, we're going to be playing these guys a lot. I think Big T mentioned it on the show yesterday, and this is something I've been kind of keying in on. I'm trying my best to play guys that are like we're not playing teams that are just like great teams, right? We're not going to be playing like the Clippers every single night and the Lakers. And the reason why we're not playing these guys is they're sitting all their starters a ton, right? And we're trying to look for reasons to play these guys. And like Anthony Edwards is someone that without the D'Angelo Russell, I was like, oh, I'm going to be playing him a bunch, even at the inflated price tag, because I know they're developing him and just giving him 40 minutes a night. So I'm looking for those situations. Towns is another great example of that. But now with D'Angelo Russell, that's going to hurt it a little. So at D'Angelo Russell, he came off the bench, right? And I assume he's going to keep coming off the bench. And I think it's because they want to stagger Edwards and Russell a little bit here. And also having all those guys on the floor defensively just isn't going to be good. I think he's in a nice role right now. If you told me D'Angelo Russell was in this role and getting paid less, would I like that role? Yes, but he's obviously getting paid too much. That's a whole other different conversation. For DFS, the price tag is probably too expensive to be rostering him in this role, and we probably need to wait for that price tag to go down, but we know he can get hot. And if he does end up in the starting lineup at some point, he is going to be an intriguing play. But you can make an argument that if he's not in to start the game, right, he loses. Let's see when he came in the game. He came into the game at the 6:43 mark. So already he's limited, right? So 48 minutes minus 5, 42 minutes, the max he can play, right? That is the max he can play right now, maybe even 41. So that is one of the fears with D'Angelo Russell. The minutes upside might not be there until he's a starter.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Let's talk about the Washington Wizards, 17-32, 24-25 against the spread. Heading down to Orlando to take on the new look, retooled, rebuilding Magic, who are 17-33, 26-23 against the spread. I'm going to be loving Orlando for the rest of the year, but not in this spot. I need way more points. I'm only getting 3 here against the Wizards team that, I mean, probably not in their best interest overall, but they're making a push for the play-in. Russell Westbrook, I mean, we've had so many conversations about Westbrook, but I think he's going to be interesting here at 11-1 if Beal sits. And I kind of like putting some Orlando Magic players here in the lineup here, total 222. I like the Wizards to cover -3 here, and I think I'm going to be putting some Magic in my DFS lineup. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree, Spread. You definitely want to get these guys in your DFS lineups. From a betting perspective, I lean the Wizards, mainly because I don't think I'm getting enough points for the Magic. Kind of like
I want more than 5 or 6 at least when I go for the Magic.
Yeah, and I'm in the camp of the Magic are definitely going to grind out a lot of games more than you think. Like Steve Clifford is a coach that is going to grind out every single minute. He's not just going to give up. That's just how he is as a coach. So
like Diet Tibbs, right?
Yep. So of course that's something you typically want to bet on, but I just feel like I'm not getting enough points, especially for the unknown situation. Like if you have Bradley Beal in here, like, man, I definitely don't want to be only getting 3 points.
So are you expecting Beal to play? Because from what DraftKings priced Westbrook at and from this fantasy basketball, I'm thinking that he's not going to play again tonight.
Yeah, I'll admit I don't know if he is or isn't. I assume he's still out until basically we start seeing something that kind of shows. But every time he's questionable, then it becomes a game time decision, and it just seems so unknown. Like, and it's every single time. It's not like we've had like, hey, like 2 weeks and we'll reevaluate. So I don't know what's going to happen. I'm expecting him to be out, but if he was randomly in, it's the NBA. I would not be surprised. But the thing I want to key in on when we're talking DFS, I want to key in on Russell Westbrook and kind of talk about him. And of course, people, they understand, yes, he's a plug and play, and he is a plug and play in this spot. Spread, the thing I want to mention is the price tag. I've talked about it with Giannis.
11-1.
Yes, so it feels expensive. It's not. It's not.
Really?
So the reason I say it is if there is no Bradley Beal, I don't think it's too expensive because I just really feel like you're signing up basically for 60 fantasy points. And on these slates, raw points matter. You have all this value. And he has a ceiling of 100. And like nothing against Karl Anthony Towns. Great basketball player. He doesn't have that 100 ceiling, right? He just doesn't. Like Harden, Westbrook, Giannis, those guys have ceilings that like other guys just don't. And I can capture that in a possible close game, which Vegas is predicting it could be close. I'm not betting against Russell Westbrook here if Bradley Beal is out. I want to be in on Westbrook. And if, like, you see the numbers that Westbrook has put up, right? And the usage and the situation he's in. He had a couple of games with the 50 fantasy points that weren't the best, right? But before that, he was absolutely smashing. You can make an argument that let's say Bradley Beal's out the rest of the season, Spread. If he is out the rest of the season, this price tag could go to 12K at some point. We've seen Russell Westbrook when he was at the Thunder. I know you probably weren't playing DFS then. He was like 14K. It was interesting because like you had to make a decision. Did you just want to take those points and move on? Listen, I want to just take the points right now with Russell Westbrook, especially because we're going to have value. And like I was trying to say, the price tag hasn't gone up to where it could be. If Russell Westbrook was like a 7K, 6K player, you would have seen drastic jumps in his price for his production for the most part. Now, I get it. Those 250s in there might be kind of keeping it down. And that's why he's not at the 11.5 spot. But we know this role for Russell Westbrook is elite, and I want to keep riding it out. So give me Westbrook all day. We should talk about some of the other Magic guys because is Rui back? I know he was out last game. Do you have a read on that, Spread?
Questionable. So here's the thing. For Beal, when I look at this line, I can already and I run my model, I can already tell that they factored him not being in there, right?
That's what I would think. That makes so much sense. So if he's not in there, you're going to want to.
He's worth a half a point top, so I can't tell what the line makers expect just by looking at a line for Rui, and he's questionable on this Basketball Monster site. So,
so the
to
guy,
me, he's like a true coin flip. I have no idea.
Yeah, so the guy I would maybe look at is Davis Bertans. I don't know exactly if he'll have a minutes limit.
He's had a minutes limit over the last couple games. I don't know if that's.
Did he have one the last game? He played 24 minutes.
Let me double check. I was actually reading about that.
So while you're looking that up, he went from 20 in the first game to 24 minutes. And I was debating rostering, but I did not know. It was like at the buzzer when I was trying to make a decision, and I did not know if he exactly had a minutes limit. Denny is in there, but he feels a little overpriced at 5.1K for my liking. You could throw him there as a last piece, but he's not like a guy I'm prioritizing by any means. You can make an argument for on the opposite side. Like this could be a really good spot for Wendell Carter because look at his games, right? 41.5, 40.5, 40.25. He's been printing those 40 games, and he's still only 6K. And the Wizards, they like to play with one big. They just do. And that's going to be really good for a guy like a Wendell Carter. So I like him on the opposite side. Definitely one of the Magic guys I would look at. I want to have a read on how many bodies they're going to have. I know that they were down to 8 the last game. They're definitely a little banged up and shorthanded. So that's something we need to look into as we get closer to the game. And then we have, where is he? RJ Hampton. That's one guy I wanted to mention.
I put him in my little lineup I made this morning.
Yeah, and he's 4.5, right? And it feels like it's pricey, but I don't think it is yet. Like I think you can make an argument that maybe 5.5 is where it starts to get pricey. At least it depends on the situation of how many guys are in. Now, there could be too many guys in where 4.5, it's not worth it, and there's better value on the board, so you move away from it. RJ Hampton is a guy that they were going to draft, right? They were actually looking at him, and that's why they traded for him. They're giving him opportunities at the 1. Again, it depends who is in and who is out, but he is one of those guys that I'm looking at. My favorite Magic player, though, is probably Wendell Carter Jr. Okiki is definitely someone I'm intrigued by because if he gets minutes, I know he's going to produce. So that's one thing I like about him. Same with Dwayne Bacon. I know if he is going to be in like some type of point guard role, I'm still okay with going with him as an option, especially on a FanDuel where you have to play 2 shooting guards at times. So that kind of wraps up the Magic. It really depends on who's in and who's out. Listening to what Steve Clifford's going to say, again, 7 o'clock lock. So we'll know all of that. And then I want to load up on Westbrook and maybe some of these other smaller pieces like a Neto, right, at 4-1. He busted last game, but I still think he's in play. Ish Smith, I think, did pull a little bit of production from him because he's willing to shoot. But I think you could go back to the well on Neto if you'd like.
All right. I think those are great. Yeah, a little worried about Hampton just because Anthony's in and Michael Carter-Williams is in. So my guess is with those two playing, that'll kind of take away from Bacon's
Wow, Cole Anthony's back. I thought that was I was seeing that. I thought that was a glitch. I'm surprised he's back. Actually,
is it a glitch? I
no.
thought
The reason I said it was I didn't realize he was even on. I'm playing baseball and basketball, right? So some of these like smaller things, like a Cole Anthony coming back, I may have just missed. So that's interesting though because he's the reason I say that is his price could be wrong on like around the industry, right? It's 5.2 on DK and then FanDuel he is 5.2. The reason I say it's is whenever a guy's out for a while and he comes back, sometimes the prices just have him at the flat min. And when he's at the flat min and then he randomly comes back into the lineup, the sites weren't ready for it. And that's why I said it. That's all. Typically, I'm pretty good on the news, but with having double sports, and I was sick a little bit yesterday, so just kind of getting back into the groove here. So Cole Anthony at 5.2, he could be in play, but it is starting to get a little more crowded in that Magic backcourt.
Yeah, so kind of knocks me away from a couple of them, but we'll see how it turns out. But I need to hear your thoughts on this game, especially from a betting perspective. You're my go-to Boston Celtics expert. Now they're hosting the Knicks, who are 25-26, 30-21 against the spread. The Celtics, a disappointing 25-26, 24-27 against the spread. I think this game kind of is emblematic of how expectations can frame a season, right? Two teams with the same exact record, and we are really disappointed in the Celtics, and we are really excited about the Knicks. That being said, the Knicks started off hot. They've had some problems lately. They lost against Brooklyn the other night. That was a tough one. Against Dallas, they didn't show up. Minnesota, they completely blew that game. Against Miami, they didn't show up. So this team is kind of trending downward. Now they're catching 3 points in Boston against a Boston team that, I know that we're going to miss, Fournier again tonight? And
you're missing Kemba as well.
Yeah, that was it. Fournier and Kemba, but you get Tristan Thompson back, so hey, right? You should be fine, right?
Just in time for the double big showdown, right? Who does not want that? I know I don't. It is going to be interesting. So people might see Robert Williams yesterday and be like, man, Robert Williams was terrible. Well, like he has not had
center against the league.
Yes, and he hasn't had the easiest matchups, right? So I don't want anyone to overreact. He's had the easiest matchups. This was his first tough one, right? He went, let's see. So he went Milwaukee, which I'm not too worried down low. He went against OKC, the Pelicans, Houston, Charlotte. I mean, he's been great in a lot of those spots, some cupcake matchups there. Then he gets Philly, has some struggles. No big deal. We're not going to just, overreact. I think you go back to the well on Robert Williams. They're going to need his size all game. We know Tibbs is not just going to go small randomly. So I think this is a pretty good spot for Robert Williams in DFS. I'm going to lean the Celtics. Maybe there's some bias there. I just don't want to be betting on the Knicks right now. I think they're kind of.
I love the Celtics here. First of all, you're getting them in kind of, JJ always talks about it, and this is for any sport. This works. Buy low spots, right? What did everybody watch last night? I didn't even think that Philly game was as close as the final score, right? I mean, Philly felt in control last night. I was on Philly myself. I gave it out as a sheet play to the Run Pure Bets members, and it just felt like it cashed the whole game. I felt like I was on the right side of the game. I had capped it correctly, right? And Boston just looked like they couldn't keep up, right? There's a little difference between playing the Philadelphia 76ers, who have the best record in the East, right? Most complete defensive team in the East. Now we're going against the Knicks, who are great. But I heard a great thing on the radio. They're the local Kings guys, right? They're calling Julius Randle Diet Jokic, which I thought was perfect, right? And this team is good defensively, but they're not the Sixers. I think this is a great spot for Boston to bounce back, look good. I'm only laying 3 points here. I mean, this game really stood out to me as an opportunity to take advantage of a slumping Knicks team who the public likes, right? The public, what I said it earlier, what they are against the spread, 30-21 against the spread, right? So, and the public's smart, right? They probably didn't bet them against Brooklyn, so the public's doing even better than that against the spread record. So they've been cashing Knicks tickets all year. Boston's been quite disappointing. I think this is a great opportunity to buy low on Boston here. So hopefully you'll join me in that. Total 209. What are we doing with that, Travis?
Oh man, so you could expect it obviously to be a little bit of a grinded out game from Stevens. Is it because maybe we're going to see a lot of the double big stuff going on? Like, is Steven just going to go back to that? I hope not. But wouldn't it be shocked if you get that at all? Like, it would not be shocked if he kind of rolls that out because they're shorthanded. You're going to get Marcus Smart at the point guard, obviously, and I do think that Julius Randle he's like one of those tough guys to guard, right? You can't just stick some like big man on him because, of what he can do and his shooting abilities. I feel like the Celtics have those wing type players to do that, right? Like, I think it makes a ton of sense that you could see guys like Jaylen Brown. We've seen Marcus Smart. I don't think Marcus Smart is just going to cover him all game long, right? But give fits to guys that are big men, right? By help defense, by doing a bunch of other things. He's gotten under Porzingis' skin. He's one of the tallest guys in the league. The difference between those two, though, obviously, is that Randall can move more than a guy like Porzingis. But I think that they are going to be able to cause enough fits to Julius Randle. And I think Stevens is smart enough to make sure that the Knicks, get that ball out of his hands. I don't know if you saw, did you see the interview with Anthony Edwards spread where he basically said, Edwards like, we wanted to get the ball to Julius's hands and we wanted to get it into Barrett's. And it was really fun.
Right? Edwards is like my new favorite. I love the guy. He's so charismatic. If you were to play, I got a couple more questions on this game before we move on. If you were to play the total though, 209, where are you going with that?
It'd be hard for me to bet the under on it. I'd probably bet the over, just because I don't know if I could bet that under. I don't bet totals that much, so that's probably why.
Now, also for DFS, does that mean when you see that 209, are you completely off this game, or because it's the Knicks and you're getting 40 minutes a pop from the five guys?
So Thomas, these 40 minutes have been like baked into their prices like all season long, right? Like RJ Barrett's pricier now, like. They're all a little bit pricier. And the matchup isn't elite, right? Like I would go to an RJ Barrett if he was playing the Wizards, right? Because of what it could be. And if it's like a 5-game slate, it's a bigger slate. So I don't think we need to. This is definitely not a game I'm loading up on. You can make an argument if you look at the Boston guys, like Jaylen Brown is 7-8 and with no Kemba, obviously more usage his way. Tatum at 9-1 is a little pricier than I want it to be. He does have upside still. Like if he went for 55 or 60, I wouldn't be shocked, but I'm not going out of my way to play him, right? Don't think it's necessary. And then Marcus Smart in the point guard role at 6K. I don't think I want to go there. I think on maybe FanDuel you could go there because the price is – oh, no, it has gone up. He was 5.5 the other day. It's actually at 6K. Yeah, I don't know if I want to go even to Marcus Smart. That might be a tough one to stomach. So maybe I'm just mainly going to Jaylen Brown, if anyone, because the price is too cheap at 7.8. You can make an argument with the usage of no Kemba. And also on FanDuel, he's 7.7, and you have to play two small forwards. And the more I think about it, Jaylen Brown's probably more of a FanDuel play because what happens a lot on FanDuel is we get a lot of elite value and we need to spend up somewhere, and then we just spend up at small forward. And Jaylen Brown could easily become that because of the usage that he sees. Like yesterday, I ended up spending up for Kawhi Leonard. Not because I wanted to, not because I thought he was an elite play. I was just like, well, it's Portland. He sees a lot of usage and I have all this salary and I got to spend up somewhere. So that's why that happened. So, I think that could happen on FanDuel.
All right. Did you see yesterday Marcus Smart getting after everyone in the huddle?
No, I didn't catch that. I didn't watch that game too much yesterday.
So, yeah, I had that one obviously being my official play of the day. It was quite interesting in it. And so JSU and I yesterday talked about, the number of blowouts, and I think I said something that it went from there was only 2 games of more than 40 points, and now it's like 8 games. It was 2 games a while ago. Anyways, the blowouts are increasing a lot, right? And I was watching Smart get after his team as they're down by 20, and I was thinking, how many teams in the NBA just don't have that guy, right? Where they're all just going to be like, okay, we're losing, we don't care, we're still millionaires, we get off, go to the hotel, back at it tomorrow. Where Smart was jumping in them, right? And it's just every time they include Smart in trade talks, I just can't believe it. He's just the heart and soul of that team.
This is why I told you, Denver, he would have been great there. And we see now with Aaron Gordon, that defense has been great for them.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I said he would have been a great addition there, man. Like they needed one defender and they got him. So
yeah, I can't argue with you there. And then my final kind of random NBA question here for you before we go on to the next game: whose stock has fallen farther this season of the young genius coaches, Brad Stevens or Nick Nurse? Because I see Boston fans. I mean, they're calling for Stevens' head, and I'm just thinking, who are you going to hire that's better than him, right? And Nick Nurse is another one, right? I mean, I'm watching Toronto, like, they don't look that good, right? Doesn't look like the genius coach anymore.
Yeah, well, that's how happens when you lose Kawhi Leonard, right? Like, I think Stevens is still fine. He's definitely done some weird stuff, but Stevens, like, part of me looks at this Boston team and I'm like, they're not going anywhere anyway, and they're experimenting. Like, I don't think people realize the regular season doesn't matter that much, and like they're just trying to figure out what works. Like for a while, they did not have Kemba, Smart, Tatum, and Brown all together. Now, of course, when they had Hayward, yes, they had all those guys, but they have a new roster, and they were trying to figure out what can work and how they can make it all work. And they ended up just saying, hey, we don't even want Daniel Tice here anymore. We're going to just commit to Robert Williams all the way. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, we'll go down with the ship. And I'm at least happy that they're finally doing that. Sure, we saw some Luke Cornett stuff here and there, but I think it's going to normalize it. You're not going to see Luke Cornett closing out playoff games like regularly, right? Like maybe every once in a while if he gets hot, but that's it.
Yeah, that is for sure. So,
but my answer to you would be, I'd say Stevens is still fine. Nick Nurse, we gotta see, right? I don't mind him though, and I love him for DFS because he plays his guys, and of course I love coaches that play their guys minutes, and I'll never say anything bad about those guys unless they're Tom Thibodeau, because it's tips.
All right, sounds like a plan. Well, a coach that I love to run down is the game that we're going to be talking about next: the New Orleans Pelicans and my least favorite coach, Stan Van Gundy, head to Brooklyn to take on the Nets. Brooklyn laying 9. Kevin Durant should be his first game back, generously priced at $9,200 on DraftKings. Travis, I'm not betting this game. -9 seems about right to me. I can't get the Pelicans right to save my life, and they didn't give me a really attractive total either. At 233, they made it high enough to where I just don't want to auto bang the over. But I also worry that if there is some blowout, and Brooklyn really does run away with this and cover, that it's not going over either. So this game to me, I completely scratched off the board from a betting perspective. Maybe you can find some value here. What do you think?
Yeah, so we got some news that's coming in. So Sabonis questionable, Turner's questionable. I thought
he's questionable now.
He tries to play through a lot of stuff. Yeah, so we got Lamb questionable.
Where are you getting this from? Because Basketball Monster still has him out.
Labs just put him. Labs just threw him out there. So Lamb questionable, Brogdon questionable, Turner questionable, Sabonis questionable. All that came through. But we had Pelicans news that came through probably like once we were on air at like 1:05. Hayes is not on the report. Kira Lewis questionable. Ingram questionable. So I'm not expecting Lewis to play from everything I heard. Ingram, I thought maybe he'd be back. I guess it's going to be up in the air. It's hard to cap this game without knowing Ingram's in or not, because that definitely will matter for the line, right? Like I could see it moving a point or two if Ingram's in for sure.
Sure, yeah.
And I wonder, obviously we're at this point of the year where guys like Isaiah Thomas, right? Like when they're on these like contracts, I'm sure he's on a 10-day contract or something small, unless they got him for the whole year. I never looked into the details, but
I didn't either.
He's probably going to be getting run, right? So obviously if he's on the court, that's obviously going to, if you're handicapping, better for the Nets. I say we just don't bet this game because we need the news on Ingram. I think that's going to be really valuable. It's one of those things. It's 1:30 right now. This is when we get injury news all filing in. So be logged on to your sportsbook to make bets at the certain times. At 1:20, go onto your sportsbook so it doesn't kick you out. Log into the book and just be refreshing it so you can jump on the lines when it's the right time. Do that at 5:30. 5:30. be on the book. Not at 5:30, 5:20, or even 5:15, just because sometimes you get stuff a little earlier. It's important when you're doing betting. We don't have to make a bet now. We can make it later. And this is just stuff that isn't going to help you today. It's going to help you in future bets. So I want to jump on the Pelicans if Ingram's in. If he's out, obviously I want to see all the other chips fall, but I would be a little more concerned with betting on them without Ingram.
All right, Travis, I made a lineup before we started the show today. I put Kevin Durant in there. Rate my play there. What do you think?
I don't think you could do it because it's just like, is he going to try? Like, what's he going to do? I mean, I guess the price is 9,200. When I play my star spread, I don't want like 28 minutes or 30 minutes. Like, I want that James Harden 38. I want that Julius Randle 40. That's my concern with Kevin Durant. I don't know if you're getting the 40, and you're probably not, right?
Oh, I'm not getting the 40 for sure. My idea there is that his 30 could be equivalent to another guy's 38.
I don't think it's the right idea, but again, there's no Harden there.
You. And the great thing is I have I have another 5.5 hours to change it, right?
Yeah. So when I look at DFS spread, I want to look for outs, right? Listen, we love to predict things. But it's hard. It's not easy to predict them. So I want to look for as many outs as possible for my guy to get there. Now, Kevin Durant, there's the other way. There's a lot of outs for it not to work out. I'm not wishing this upon him. He could easily tweak something mid-game real quick, and they're just going to give him the quick hook. Very easily, right?
Yeah.
That's like anyone, but of course, he would just be done instantly. Now, you can also look at they could blow him out. The Nets could absolutely just blow out the Pelicans, and it could be a disaster, and they just take him out a little bit early. There's just tons of ways that it could not work. There could be a minutes limit that we don't know about, right? Because that's what teams do with these stars. I don't expect this game to even be close, too. It could be definitely a game that's a little bit of a gap. We got the 9 total, right? So that's where you start getting concerned. Could it be a blowout? Will it be a blowout? There's just a lot of ways I think it could go wrong and has me concerned. So I am going to stay away from a guy like a Kevin Durant. I think there's better ways that you can spend your money spread. FanDuel, he's 8,800. And again, I talked about sometimes just have raw points to spend up. So maybe over there could make some sense, but I don't think I want to go to him. I'd rather go to Kyrie Irving. Now, FanDuel, he's priced up. He's 10.4K. He's 10.2 over on DK. But we know the thing about Kyrie, he is not afraid to shoot. And it's guards against the Pelicans, which I like, guards against the Pelicans.
Okay.
There's guards against the Kings, guards against the Pelicans. There are certain matchups we know throughout this season that we want to be attacking, and that is one of them that we want to attack. So I'm going to be probably heavily invested in Kyrie Irving, more so I think on probably DraftKings. You can make an argument that you can just find the $800 in Russell Westbrook, but I like building my lineups out with a Westbrook and a Kyrie Irving. And the other thing to mention with Kyrie on DK specifically, he's shooting guard eligible, which at times shooting guard is not the easiest thing to roster when we talk about construction. So I like Kyrie a lot. I want to be targeting those Pelicans. And on the opposite side, let's talk about matchups that we like to target. We like to target the Nets with center spread. I mean, that has been a printer for years. And I mean, I don't love, loading up on, Steven Adams. He's not this guy that I think has this massive ceiling, but I think he has an opportunity to have a good game. 5'8", it's a tougher price tag. So maybe I'll look at a guy like Zion instead at 9K. Now, 9K feels expensive too. I totally get that. But I do think it's because it's the Nets, there could be a bit of upside there. And if we have no Brandon Ingram, and again, a lot of this depends on news, a lot of stuff I'm saying. If there's no Brandon Ingram in there, that's going to be really nice for Zion. The price tag at 9K, though, it feels a bit pricey. I know we talked about it a lot this year. How he's been in that 40-ish range, but if there's going to be no Ingram, I think it's definitely in play. And then one last guy to mention, because again, this is a pretty good DFS game. Don't want to ignore it. It depends on news. Lonzo Ball. He has been phenomenal. Last 2 games, 52 fantasy points, 52 fantasy points. Just been printing against Atlanta and Houston. Atlanta and Houston, they're 2 teams that I'm excited to attack with guards, right? And you can attack the Nets with guards too. I'm not scared of that. Could be a very up and down game. And we know the Nets, they don't like to play defense. So you have to like some of these Pelicans. You have to like, Kyrie Irving on the opposite side. And that's kind of the way I think I'd be building out my lineups overall. So unless we get like a surprise starter that's super cheap, I don't think I'm going to go to many of the cheap guys. And it's really looking at guys like Zion, looking at Ball, and then maybe a hint of Steven Adams, maybe a better FanDuel play at, let's see, he is 6K. And the reason I say that is sometimes FanDuel, you just land on a center and you just kind of play them. because it's a matchup situation. So there you go.
All right. Well, I do not like that Brooklyn game from a betting perspective, but I love this game from a betting perspective. So I want to see if you are with me here. The Memphis Grizzlies, who are a surprising 25-23, 29-18 against the spread, head to Atlanta to take on the red hot Hawks, who could not miss against the Pelicans last night. The Hawks are 27-24, 27-23 against the spread. They're laying 2 points. Right? And here's why I like Atlanta. Let's look who's out. Brandon Clark, Melton, and Winslow. Okay, none of those guys are like, they move the needle, but all together, that chops into Memphis's depth. John Morant didn't look 100% healthy today. So I can't back the Memphis side because what if I only get 15 or 20 minutes out of Ja? I love Atlanta here. They're red hot. McMillan's got them playing well. He's got them focused on defense. Yesterday, they couldn't miss. I'm going to ride the hot hand. I like Atlanta. What do you like?
Yeah, I like the call in Atlanta a lot. Obviously, Memphis is a team that they're going to get cut into that depth. And I've talked about it a little bit with you. Like, I don't think people realize like how good of the depth that Memphis has on that team. Yeah. They're able to easily all year long. They've just been shoving guys in there at those guard spots when they need to. They either go to the hot hand or whoever's out. They just kind of keep plugging guys in. But it does feel like it's going to be a bit of a tougher spot for them that I would be a little nervous. And I like what the Hawks are doing a bit. I think that they have a nice little group of guards now between Trae Young, Bogdanovich, and Lou Williams. I think what they have works. I don't think Rondo was the best fit because what is Rondo? Rondo's a better guy to kind of set players up. And I don't think he worked going next to like a guy like a Gallinari, right? A John Collins. Those guys are a little better with having some type of usage. They don't want to have, absolute ball handling duties to themselves, but it just did not work with Rondo. And I kind of like what they're doing between Lou Williams, Bogdanovich, and Trae Young. They're also playing a lot better under Nate McMillan. And with this team being banged up in the Grizzlies, I want to be on the Memphis side with you at -3. I'm down to jump on the Hawks. It is a back-to-back, right? So it gets you a little concerned. But again, they kind of beat the Pelicans up a little bit. You didn't see them play like 1,000 minutes last night, right? And it's also a back-to-back too for Memphis. So you got both sides kind of dealing with it. And one is dealing with injuries, one is not. And you got guys like Tilly is now in there playing, right? I don't love what this overall Memphis team has. And in DFS, this is going to be a game. Sure, there's some injury news on the Memphis side spread, but I'm going to probably do my best to stay away from. Maybe I'll look at, like, if I have to spend up, maybe I'll look at like a Trae Young, but I think there's better spend up options. And overall, I don't love this game from a DFS perspective.
All right, yeah, and I think one of the issues with Rondo for this Atlanta team that's trying to get out of the lottery, trying to change their culture, is Rondo has a completely different calendar than the rest of the NBA. On Rondo's calendar right now, it says training camp. For him, the season starts when the playoff starts.
Yes.
He only gets paid for 16 games or however many they play, right? He thinks that this is training camp. He does not care at all.
Yeah.
For the Clippers, that's fine because the whole Clippers are on that mentality, right? Doesn't really matter. They can win 73 games. If they don't win the title, it does not matter. The Hawks, they need to change the culture. They need to be intense every night. It's been a while since they made the playoffs. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure they made it 1 year after that really great season, but it's been 3 or 4 years. They need the intensity every night. He wasn't bringing it. I think it's a great trade overall, and I agree with everything you say. So we are on the same page for this game. I love it. Let's go to another game. I don't like betting this game. I'm definitely interested to see on what you think about how we're going to approach this team, and I'm talking about the Charlotte Hornets, who are 25-24, 27-21 against the spread, heading to OKC to play the ATS Darlings Thunder, who, the secret's out. They haven't been covering lately. Everybody's on them. The lines got deflated. There's no more value on this team. They're 20-30, 25-25 against the spread. But my question is, how do we approach Charlotte, right? They're missing so many scores. I feel bad for them. One of the most fun stories in the NBA. They lose LaMelo. They lose Malik Monk. They lose Gordon Hayward. They lose their offensive punch. How do we approach this game? I'm not betting this game personally, but I just want to know your outlook on what do we do with the Hornets for the rest of the season now?
Yeah. How long is Hayward out? What's the timeline?
I don't know. I think it's going to be 3 to 4 weeks. It's a broken hand, isn't it?
Was it? Yeah, so I didn't know the exact extent. I knew he was out, but again, tons of sports going on, so you miss things here and there.
Yeah, no, it's
how long
fine.
it is,
Yeah.
right? I knew he was out, but didn't know how long.
Yeah. I don't have it in front of me, but
If
I
it's
think it's
broken
3
hand,
to
it's
4
a
weeks.
while for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's going to obviously be interesting for capping Charlotte going forward. I just think you stay away from this game because of all the unknown variables. You can make the argument one team is playing for playoffs in a way. Like Jordan still wants this team to kind of try and get there, right? And Terry Rozier is definitely going to be happy about chucking up shots all game long, right? Like he is not a guy that is afraid to do that. If you force me to bet a side spread, if you force me to, I would probably lean Charlotte. Only reason I would lean Charlotte is because I think it's a team that's actually playing for something while the other team is more so messing around with rotations, like trying to get things right. If a young guy plays, is playing well, or if there's an opportunity to have a teaching moment with like a Moses Brown doing something dumb, the coach will do that, right? Like, so I think I would lean Charlotte, but I really want to stay away from this game. Don't have to bet it. We just talked about a game we liked Atlanta. We actually both like the Celtics one too. So that makes sense. So I think we've found enough games overall so far that we could stay away from this one. And there's other ones I might like later that are news dependent, right? And I'll be able to jump on those. So I can fill out my card later on too. Games don't tip till 7:00, and you can always live bet stuff too. So tons of opportunities to make some bets. I don't need to bet this game though.
Yeah, and so, hey, if anyone's watching, right, and you're going to parlay every game, I'm with you. I like Charlotte, and it would be my simple handicap for OKC. Is Lou Dort playing? If so, take them to cover. If he's not, they're terrible. So, with Lou Dort out, I'm not backing OKC. At the same time, with everything going on with Charlotte, I don't really know what team I'm backing. We got so many games on the card today. I have no problem, leaving this one alone. But you want me to give a lean, and I go ahead and I lean Charlotte. I also like the under here as well. Obviously, OKC is not too good on offense to begin with, and I think Charlotte's really going to struggle. And I think one of the problems is losing Hayward and LaMelo were two guys that were playing the ball movement offense, and I think that they're too ISO reliant now, right? Rozier's more of an isolation guy. Graham's more of an isolation guy. So, yeah, I like the under here if I was forced to make a play.
Yeah, I think the under is not a bad call there. Because again, like these are two kind of lame offenses right now. Like they're not the best. And like in DFS, I didn't mind like playing like Ty Jerome and like Theo Maldon a little bit at times, but their prices are starting to get up there. So it's probably not necessary now. And this is a good stay away game, like from a DFS perspective. I just don't think I need to touch this one at all. 213 total. I'll be passing on it.
Yeah, and another idea is as Charlotte becomes more reliant on the isolations, which to me, their personnel is saying that they're going to, that's going to slow the pace down, right? Quick moving, quick hitting, fast pace. ISOs, that runs the shot clock down. And isolation-heavy offenses are who we target when we're looking for unders. So I like the under there the best out of any play. Let's move on to the next game. What do we got next on the
Rockets Mavericks, right?
Let's do it. Rockets, Mavericks. What a not fun game to watch. The Houston Rockets are pretty much, I would say, the least fun team to watch out of all the teams, right? You got Kevin Porter Jr., and that's it. And they're taking on a Dallas team that's won how many in a row now? 1, 2, 3, 5 games in a row for the Dallas Mavericks. Most notably, a signature win over the Utah Jazz. Now they're laying 10.5 in Houston. I don't see how we can back Houston here. I didn't take Dallas, but that's where I lean. What do you think, Travis?
Yeah, Dallas is that team that it's hard to bet against right now, and Houston's that team that it's hard to stomach betting. So they might get John Wall back. It looks like he could be back tonight. So I'm different than you, Spread. I like watching Houston. Well, I like watching Houston because Wall and like Porter and like Wood, like they're kind of fun, right? Like they're not good. I mean, like if I'm creating a basketball team, right? Like it's not the ideal thing, but they're names, right? And Kevin Porter has been fun to watch. He's been a nice.
He's good. Sport. Yeah. I like Porter.
So I'll start with DFS. So DFS wise, Porter obviously gets a little hurt with John Wall being in there. His usage gets really destroyed. John Wall's price on FanDuel is 8.4, which is quite frustrating, right? That's something that if you're going to be rostering him coming back from an injury. And again, I talked about Kevin Durant. There's a lot of chances for it to go wrong. There's always a lot of chances for it to go wrong for John Wall. 8.1K. Just feels like too high of a price tag for me. You can't have your stars put up like real bad games, right? And he's an 8.1K price tag. And I just think there's too much downside to him. Of course, there is upside, right? But I do worry about that at the 8-1 price tag. And all around, I mean, Houston, their prices are not the best from a DFS perspective because John Wall has been out, and that's been a lot of usage to go around. Kelly Olynyk's there too. Obviously, he's taking up some shots from guys. They have some injuries, like Daniel House, obviously, was someone that was banged up. That obviously messed some things up. Avery Bradley is 3.8. You probably can't go to him. Yeah, there's just no one you can go to. Martin Jr. or Augustine, they're all probably just stayaways at this point from a DFS perspective. Now, Dallas, on the other hand, we need to know what's going on with Porzingis, right? He's expected to play, and you can make an argument that it's a good spot for Porzingis, but do you want to pay 8.6 for Porzingis, where, again, he's another guy, really wide range of outcomes, which is something I just don't want to mess with, especially with Luka being in there. If it's anyone to play, I think I'll go to Luka instead of a Porzingis. I'd rather go up to him as my star. But I talked about it before. I like other stars on this slate spread, right? Like I think I like Westbrook more. I think I like Kyrie. The one argument you can make for a guy like Luka, specifically on DraftKings, is he's in that small forward position, right? He is eligible there to roster, where if we get more news that hits that messes with this slate, maybe you have a lot of guard value and you need to spend up at small forward. And then it's like, what's the difference between Luka and a Kyrie and Westbrook? Sure, the gap could be large, but it depends on what the guard production is going to be. If you have all these like 3K, 4K point guards on the slate out of nowhere because we get random news that'll boost those guys' production up to like 30 fantasy points, then yes, getting raw points at small forward with Luka is going to be the ideal route. And that's something that I look at a lot in roster construction. I'll look at Giannis versus, Kyrie Irving or James Harden. And sometimes I look at that and I'm like, they have a similar projection, right? They're both projected for between 57. One guy is at 57, one is at 59. And it's a small difference. And then when you look at the difference between the 4K small forward and the 4K guard, it's a no-brainer to go with that guard. And when you see a big usage guard be out, and that happens a lot at this time of the year, and I know it's not something that's on this slate right now, but it could happen. I'm trying to prep you for that because that's what April NBA is all about. Those raw points of Luka could change some stuff. So that's something to watch for certain. Handicapping wise, man, I know we've been on a lot of favorites. It's a bad card, right? And I probably want to go with Mavericks, I'd say here, mainly because I can't bet on the Rockets right now. I don't want to bet against Dallas. I had some action on Dallas the other day, so that was really nice to be able to, get some cash there against Utah. They've just been playing really good basketball, and I like what they've been doing. They've been getting more spacing on the floor with putting Melly in there, which has been great. And Luka said, hey, we're undefeated with Melly, right? So the good
yeah.
vibes are rolling, the good mojo's going there, and I don't want to mess with it. So I'm not going to bet against it here. Give me Dallas.
Right, I agree with you there. Let's talk about a game. The Spurs, what do we do with the Spurs? San Antonio Spurs, 24-24, 25-22 against the spread. They're catching 7 points in Denver against, we talk about hot teams, the two hot teams, Denver and Dallas, 32-18, 25-25 against the spread. San Antonio's lost 3 in a row, including a 24-point loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers at home. I mean, San Antonio is just not going in the right direction. We talk about teams going in the right direction, though. Let's talk about Denver winning 6 in a row. Obvious winners of the trade deadline so far. Almost the same thing, right? Two teams going in opposite direction. How do we take the Spurs here?
Well, Murray is questionable, right? So that's obviously a huge concern spread. Do you have any read on if he's in or out? I would want to bet on Denver now and bet on that Murray is going to be out. What do you think?
My guess is he's going to play. When we watched him earlier in the year, he was obviously hurting with that elbow, and they put him out there anyways. He seems to me, and I remember Big T talking about he needs to sit down, and I completely agreed. But my guess is that unless he says he cannot play, he's going to be out there. I think that Jamal Murray plays. Now, how effective he's going to be, I don't know. And does he really need the night off? I don't know.
Also, is there any chance that Jamal Murray is out again? I don't see a tag on him, so I assume he's...
I see a questionable tag on him.
Do you? Okay, yeah. I'm assuming he's probably fine, but maybe they're waiting to see if, DeJounte Murray's in, and then, it's both Murrays, right? Jamal and DeJounte. So we got two Murrays. So that's something to obviously watch for because he sat the other game. But Listen, Monte Morris, I'm not saying Jamal Murray is, or I'm not saying Monte Morris is just as good as Jamal Murray, because that's not the case, but Monte Morris is competent enough, right? And they have enough ball handlers there where I'm not worried about if Jamal Murray is out against the Spurs, right? Of course, if this is against an elite team, yes, I would have more concerns about it, but I think they can get away with it against the Spurs. The Spurs are this team that I just am not a believer in. They've definitely been more impressive, obviously, to start the year. I was surprised to see what their record was. I remember pulling it up like 25 games in, and I was very confused to see them at like 5th or 4th in the West. And I'm just going to be betting on the Nuggets basically the rest of the way. They're one team I'm going to be betting on a ton the rest of the way, and in the playoffs probably. And the Suns are another one of those that I'm going to, who we'll get to here in a second. I just think that they are both in elite situations, and I don't want to bet against it. From a DFS perspective, I stay away from Spurs pretty often. You can make an argument, again, another FanDuel thing. At times, you have to spend up on guys. And, like, if Murray is out for the Spurs, DeRozan could kind of be in play. But we've seen this a lot. Like, DeRozan will just, like, go for, like, 25 fantasy points in the first half and then just disappear. Or vice versa. It'll be the first half, he does nothing. In the second half, he gets you, like, up to, like, 30, and you're still just disappointed. I think you stay away from Spurs and you just kind of call it a day. It's a big enough slate. It's not like a 4-gamer. And then on the Nuggets side, I like Jokic, but again, I talk about the spend-ups. Do I want to make him one of my priority spend-ups? If Jamal Murray is out, he becomes a better play. So you have the situation. Do you backload? Do you front-load? How do you handle it on this slate with being a 9 o'clock lock and then the Utah and Phoenix game is the later game? I think I want to front-load more. I don't think I'm trying to prioritize Jokic. I want to get that news on what's going to happen with those other guys. And then I don't need to be jamming in an Aaron Gordon, right? Does Aaron Gordon have the opportunity to do well at his price? Yes, he could. But I think there's a lot of ways it can go wrong where I don't want to be jamming him in there, even if Jamal Murray's in there. I don't want to mess with a Michael Porter Jr. If there is no Jamal Murray, I would maybe go to a Will Barton, if anything, because the price is cheap enough and the upside is there, right? I don't have to spend like $7K for Aaron Gordon when I can just spend like in the 5K range for a Will Barton instead, who can have that 40 to 45 point ceiling. That's how I would look at it. Again, this is not a game I really want to touch. It's really Jokic or bust. But if you want to look at this game and maybe you're playing the night slate, right? That's kind of the breakdown of the entire thing.
All right. We both like the Nuggets here, but let's move on to the main event of the evening. Travis, I think not only is this the best game of the night, I think this is the best game of the week. From a fan's perspective, if you just love the NBA, you know, you're curious to see how the playoffs are going to turn out. What a preview we have as the Utah Jazz head to Phoenix to take on the Suns, the number 1 and number 2 teams in the league. Utah 38-12 with the number 1 seed. Phoenix 35-14. So it's not plausible. I mean, Phoenix is still looking at that number 1 seed, and if they want it, this is a game they're going to have to win. This is a game that I love to handicap. You want to know why? This is rare for the NBA. We can throw motivation out. I know I'm going to get the best effort from both teams tonight. I know that both teams' coaches are going to coach to win. I'm going to see playoff-style rotations. I'm going to see intensity from all my players. I can throw that out. That's a huge part of my handicap usually, right? So now I can just move on to the matchup of the game. And I love analyzing the way these teams match up. I actually love Phoenix here. My idea is, how do you want to nullify Gobert defensively? Well, you just take away his rim protection, right? I mean, that's what he does. I think Phoenix has got their 2 main players like to operate away from the rim, right? Chris Paul has no problem pulling up early, so even if he beats his man, he's still going to get the shot. Devin Booker works in the mid-range as well. I don't think he necessarily needs to get in the rim to be effective. And I love the matchup of the reserve units here. I love the way Phoenix is going to look when we're getting those secondary minutes. I like the Suns here at home. What do you think? Am I crazy going against the juggernaut Jazz?
No, I don't think you're crazy. That's actually the side I like. I mean, I'd say the Nuggets and Suns are 2 teams that have been super impressive. If you look at some of the the advanced numbers and even eyeball tests, like I said, I definitely instantly liked what the Nuggets did, and I've been on the Suns literally since day one. I thought that this was an amazing trade for them. One thing you talked about on this show, Spread, you talk about culture change, right? Sometimes bringing a guy like Chris Paul who could be overpaid and stuff like that, to change the culture is worth it. People forget that, and I think people forget how much value Chris Paul actually does add to a team, especially helping a guy like Ayton and developing him. Ayton has been a lot better, and I will say, The time I maybe want to move off of the Suns when it comes to betting is when I'm seeing Ayton kind of starting to flounder or starting to struggle. And he's not right now. He's playing a lot better. And I think that's something that when I look at the Suns in the postseason, I'm going to watch for. I think this team moves with Ayton. Of course, we know Paul's going to do his thing. We know Booker is going to do his thing. I have all the confidence in them. The one guy that's shaky to me is DeAndre Ayton. Now, this is a tough matchup too, right? Like, part of me in my handicapping thinks like, okay, DeAndre Ayton against Rudy Gobert, if it all moves with him and he's got to deal with Gobert, is this going to be a problem? Spread, that's my one worry that I have. And I've been saying I want to bet the Suns in these like tougher matchups because I think they are one of the better teams. But what do you think about that, Spread? I know they've been struggling defensively, the Jazz. We've seen them in a lot higher totals. This is a 227 total. If this game is in like 2 months, Spread, this is probably like a 212 or 214 total.
Yeah, I think the total's high. I like the under here because I think you are going to get playoff
Agreed.
intensity, a playoff atmosphere. I think that fourth quarter is going to be slow. So even if it gets out fast, I would hit the under live. And now, what was your question about the Ayton Gobert matchup? That's what your concern is?
Yeah, so how do you think Ayton does against Gobert? And real quick, we got Jamal Murray is questionable. So yes, that is something we'll be watching for.
Yeah. I don't think he does very well, and I don't think they need it. I think that this is where you rely on the great three-point shooting, and you attack them at their weaknesses, and that's basically lack of athleticism on the wings. I know Mitchell's great, right? Bogdanovich can be exploited. Ingles can be exploited, right? Even Georgie Niang, Favors, some of these other guys, they're not. This isn't the most quick team. This is a team built on skill, right? That's why Mitchell looks that much more explosive when he's out there. So I like Phoenix out here. And on the other end, look at these athletic wings that I get to attack their strength, right? I can put Mikal Bridges on Donovan Mitchell.
Yep.
Even Jay Crowder, I think, can give me some solid minutes against Mitchell, even though he's not going to shut him down, right? I still think he can pose some problems. I like what Cam Johnson's going to be able to give him some good defensive minutes. Cameron Payne. And then I think the X factor here, this guy did great against Mitchell in the playoffs last year. Torrey Craig. He's on the Suns now. Talk about an underrated addition for one specific matchup. I love the fact that Monty Williams can use Torrey Craig. I'm interested to see how much run he gets tonight. I think that the Suns have more way to stop the Jazz, even though the Jazz overall have a better defense. I love this matchup for the Phoenix Suns here.
I love it too, Spread. Like I said, you brought up great points with Bridges. I've talked about him a ton. I remember call back to when I said to JSU, there'll be someone to give LeBron a little bit of fits with Bridges.
Oh,
he's a great defender though, man. Again, he is going to be someone that can slow a Mitchell down, right? And again, Chris Paul, another guy that can do that too. And that's the beauty of having both of those guys together, right? And I mean, Devin Booker is not like this defender that I love too. So having him to help Booker out is great as well. So all around, this Suns team, man, it's an elite team. It's the type of team that I love the way it's built and constructed. The only difference on that team is if you could replace an Ayton with I don't know, and this is probably a bad example because, yes, of course, he added this guy in, Karl Anthony Towns, a player like him. Maybe not as elite, but one that can shoot, a center that actually can shoot a little bit from three. Man, this team would just be absolutely absurd.
Well, I mean, Monty Williams completely agrees with you. That's why Dario Saric, a center who can shoot from three, is in their best lineup and is closing the games a lot. And I love that. Talk about it. Thank you for making more points for me. Here's another matchup we can do. Let's bring Gobert out of the paint. Let's say Booker does want to get to the rim. Let's run that Saric lineup. It's so many different options. So, and even just from messing with Gobert's head, right? Let's get Ayton down there to bang with him, right? Ayton's going to have a strength advantage. I know Gobert's going to handle it fine, but you're going to be in there. It's going to be super physical. Then you're going to get a little touch guy like Saric who just wants to run around the wing, act like a stretch five. It's going to be I love the way they can even just change the pace there for Gobert. So, I mean, we're really talking out these Suns team. Let's hope they come through for us tonight, huh?
Yeah, I think Greg Russo, man, he got the best bet segment maybe a little early. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had I think three that we agree on for sure, which we've agreed on a lot today on this show for certain.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. Me and JSU started out agreeing on a couple, and then it was we were split the whole rest of the show. But speaking of best bets and good show, before the best bets, please a reminder, guys, if you're enjoying this actionable betting content, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, And then Travis, let's just do this right now before we give the best bets. I heard there's a new promo code running around these streets.
Oh, there is a new promo code. I butchered it a couple times already. I did I'll talk about this now. I did a Masters show, right, with JJ over here on this channel. So
yeah,
check that out. It was me, JJ, and Snyder, which Snyder has crushed it. You know, I talked him up. I talked him up on the show, so go listen to that. He's hit 6 of his last 10 outrights, and you could also have hedged a couple of them, right? So definitely go check that out over here on the Run Pure Bets channel for the Masters. I mean, who doesn't love that event? We talked about a bunch of different stuff. So check that out. The code is GetBets. So you'll go over to Run Pure Sports, use the code GetBets, and you get the DFS side. And you also get the bet side for a month as well added on. And typically, if you pay $80 a month, right, it's an extra $20 for the bets, which is still a discount, right? Because if you pay for the bets by itself, it's $60 a month. So you are getting a nice little deal there. So it gives you a month to test out the bet side. And then you also get the DFS side. So you get that all in one for $80. Instead of just signing up for the bets for $60, go ahead and do both. Check out both sides. It's absolutely awesome. We have all the great content you need. And with every sport going on at once, like, this is a great time to do it. So head on over, use that code GetBets to get all the stuff that you need, Fred.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine the number of cores you guys are going to be putting out this weekend. Major League Baseball, NBA, and then the Masters. You guys are hard work over there on the DFS side, and we are matching your output as well. You'll have Keg live all weekend, the Masters, NBA, NASCAR. He'll be knocking it all out. You'll get access to that as part of being a member of runpurebets.com. Travis gave you the promo code. Please check it out. Any questions, go ahead and DM us, and we'll make sure you get signed up as easily, as quickly as possible. Now that that's out of the way, the videos have been liked, the channel's been subscribed to. Travis, let's hit Gregory Russo's favorite segment, the best bets. I know we had 3 that we like, so you're going to leave one for me no matter what. But go ahead and give me your best bet, and then we will figure out where we're going to go from there.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Suns as mine. I love them in this spot. Don't want to bet against the Suns, and I get a little dog too, right? It's not a huge dog, right? Like, I'm sure you could shop it around too. So sometimes you see, I don't know if you noticed this spread. Sometimes on those ones that are like -1 and -0.5 and stuff, you can get different lines at different books. So shop around for the best plus money that you can get. And make sure not to bet like the +1, right? Just go for the money line, or if it's even like +0.5. Sometimes these books do that, which makes no sense to me. They try and rob you there. So make sure to bet the money line. I'm on Suns money line, no matter what it is. Jump on it. What do you got in front of you, spread on that?
All right. I got +107 on Bookmaker right now. I just placed it at +107.
Look at that
play. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take your team, Travis. I'm taking the Celtics. JJ says it all the time. Buy low. I got a nice embarrassing spot against a game that was a bad matchup for him last night. New York Knicks do not present that same matchup. Randall is so much easier for the Celtics to contain than Joel Embiid was. And I'm not trying to downgrade Randall at all, or his skills, or even say that Embiid's that much better than Randall. I'm saying Boston has the personnel to slow down Julius Randle a lot more than they did to slow down Joel Embiid. It's a great buy low spot. We've talked earlier about how the Knicks have been struggling. I still believe in the Celtics team here, and even though we do have some injuries, I think that it's going to be something that they will be able to overcome. I like having Smart out there. He's the one I'm worried about. I see Smart out of the game. I don't want to play it, but I think they can overcome the loss of Kemba. So I like the Boston Celtics here. So we got the Phoenix Suns. We've got the Boston Celtics. Those are your 2 best bets. We will be back tomorrow. At the same time, we will have Hoop, Titletown, and Tyler. Friday, it'll be AP and Tyler. And then Saturday, we'll have a special time because the UFC starts so early. The UFC starts before we normally go on. So I'm going to get with Jay, I'm going to get with Tyler, and I'm going to figure out. So by Friday, I'll let you know what the schedule is for Saturday. But, hey, if you're a Run Pure Bets member, you're going to love it because you're going to be getting great content either way. Most likely, you're going to be getting all the live bet winners from the Keg, from Joey Work over on the Run Pure Bets live betting show, best in the business. So thank you, everyone else, for joining us. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Travis, you got anything else?
No, that'll wrap it up. Just we got a lot of Masters content this week, and Big T just won $1 million, right? So another great time to subscribe, right? Look at all the stuff. And we have a nice Masters show that's going to be free on the Run Pure Sports channel. So check that out as well. That'll be at, I believe, let me get the exact time for you. I think it's 9 o'clock tonight. And then, of course, listen, the show goes on forever. Big T just jumps on there and they're drinking all night. They're having a good time. They're talking. Yeah. 9 o'clock, I'll say end time if I had a guess for the Masters. Uncle T is on there, so he might try and get out of there a little earlier. Then they might stay on. I'm guessing 11:30 is when it ends. That'll be my guess. If I was setting a line, I'd probably set it at like 11:15, right? But my hard guess is going to be 11:30 is when it ends.
Yeah, and I saw Jeremy in the chat yesterday bringing the bad mojo with Big T talking about how he already lost his $1 million, and I felt personally attacked because I had won $5.50 the day before, but I had already blown it all. So I felt like Jeremy was just going for the wrong guy there. But anyways, Travis, I appreciate all your help, especially you helping me, like learning certain things, like why Durant was a bad play. Not only does that apply tonight, that applies to almost any returning superstar. So I loved how you explained it to me and then did that. And this is a way for the guys who are betting, right? We use the Run Pure Sports cores and the cash charts for our value. We usually know what studs we want, but we still need a little help. So I wanted to thank you for that. Travis will be back with me next week. Thank you for everyone for joining us. So much content. Head on over to runpurebets.com and run.